Hello, and I'm MIcki Ruth, and I am representing the Canadian Association of Police Governance, CAPG. And what that is, it's a national organization, and it's comprised of member boards and commissions from across Canada. There are also a number of academics that are members of the CAPG, and generally they are academics that are interested in the area of policing, and we draw on their expertise a lot. What we are concerned with is police governance learnings, education, research, and we provide the national voice for the police boards and commissions across Canada. So I know that I'm speaking to a number of people who may not be from Canada, so I'll just very, very briefly touch on what is police governance in Canada, and then get into why, from a governance perspective, we are interested in national standards for policing. So each province has their own police act, so it does vary across the country in terms of what a border commission may get involved in and their level of involvement and responsibilities. But generally speaking, what they do centers around providing adequate and effective policing to their police service for the area or municipality that they represent. So specifically, that means that the police service, they make sure the police service meets all legal requirements, that there's compliance with the provincial standards, and there's the appropriate level of efficiency when you're talking about your cost-benefit analysis, and timeliness. That would be timeliness in response. So they do that through a number of means. And one, they provide oversight. And the oversight is mostly centered on making sure that what the police are doing when they're carrying out their duties, that it is in a manner that is reflective of the community needs and values. So that is their own municipalities' community needs and values. Do their actions advance the strategic plan? From a governance standpoint, that is the strategic plan. It's setting the strategic goals and directions for the police service. Usually that is done by the Border Commission in conjunction with the police service, obviously. The other things that they do are hire the chief. Some commissions do it directly, such as in Edmonton, where I am from. Others have input into it, but that is probably one of the most important things they do, because who you hire largely determines the directions that you take. They set policy, for instance, things like carding, for instance, or use of force policy. Budget and finance, they look at where the money is going. So they don't get into the level of how many police cruisers they're buying necessarily, because that is operations, but they do look to make sure that the money is being spent to advance the strategic goals, to advance where the police service is going. They can get involved in the complaint process to varying degrees, and they are also involved in approving programs, which could be community-based programs, crime prevention programs, that kind of thing. So that, in a nutshell, is Canadian police governance. So why, from a governance standpoint, are we concerned about national standards for policing? Well, first, let me say that when I'm talking about national standards, I'm talking about from the beginning of the police constable right through to the chief and every level in between. So it's not just the initial training of police officers. CAPG believes that standards and the curriculums that are behind them must be evidence-based. They must be evaluated based on outcomes, and no service should be setting their training curriculum based on past standards. That is the way we have always done things. That is no longer enough. We have to take a scientific look at things. We have to evaluate things. We have to make sure that the training is actually making its mark. So there also must be a means of evaluating the trainers themselves. to make sure that their credentials and their ability to train is up to standard. So we can't simply take somebody who has been doing policing for 30 years and saying, well, you've been doing a very good job, now you're going to train. There's an awful lot more involved in training than just that. So the reason is that community expectations have changed. The community expectations of policing and what they want their police to do and how they do it have all changed. So policing has to change to meet that. And it is rapidly changing. So it is probably of a faster pace than any one police service can meet and train and develop a curriculum to address, particularly the smaller services. So we also have to make certain that the training provided reflects the current community changes, the technological advances as well. Think about cybercrime and that kind of thing. I mean, that is changing at the speed of light. So another good example of being able to change and update the police curriculums to keep up with those sorts of changes. And of course, the legal requirements, because the legal requirements change on a fairly regular basis. Therefore, it means that the information has to be current, it has to be complete, and it, above all, has to be accurate. The course curriculum must be professionally developed. It has to set the standards of achievement, and those standards have to be properly set. You have to be able to professionally determine what level you want police officers across the country to meet. And that is important, CAPG believes, because every single person in Canada deserves the same high level of policing standards as anybody else, whether you are in a small town or you are in a big city. Everybody fully has to have those same policing standards. We all owe our communities no less. We also owe it to the officers. They have to ensure that they have the knowledge and the confidence that comes from achieving a high professional standard. And that is important too when they go out to police a community. None of this that I've said precludes an individual service or a community from providing additional training to reflect their community needs and programs and policies. That can certainly be done, and it should be done. It should be done on a regular basis. So that does not take the place of individual services addressing their own needs. But CAPG believes that national standards will better address the requirements of adequate and effective policing, which is a big part of governance, and it better addresses the community needs and requirements, which is what police governance is all about in Canada. And it also addresses the economics of policing. We've been looking at the economics and concerned with the economics of policing for a very long time now. And this would provide a higher level of training, a higher level of education in a much more economically effective manner. So in conclusion, Canadian Association of Police Governance believes that this is a very important step in maintaining a high professional standard in policing. We feel it's important. We feel it's important to the communities, and we feel it's important to the police officers who are serving as well, to have the same high level of accreditation right across the country. So thank you very much.